exercise, stool softeners, things like that. What'd you say? Yep. Because if you get your patient up moving a little bit, it speeds things up. Oh, let's see. Okay, I just had a thyroidectomy. What kind of things do you need to have at the bedside? Airway things, such as suction, an ambu bag, oxygen, those kind of safety things that if I lose my airway for some reason, you can rescue me somehow. Let's see what else I have here. Okay, you just took my vital signs. I have hyperthyroidism. Which vital sign is the most concerning if there's a change?
The pulse.
Heart rate.
Temperature.
Oh, shut.
If my temperature raises 1 degree above normal, it could trigger a thyroid storm. So that means, we didn't say this yesterday, but that being said, if I have hyperthyroidism and I go to the gym or I run a 5K, is there a risk of going into a thyroid storm?
Yes.
Yes, because I'm increasing my body temperature in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to do some patient teaching with your patient is that they need to not overexert themselves because they don't want to trigger a thyroid storm. Let's see. Okay, I have hyperthyroidism again. Let's see, someone on that back row. The very last person right there. See, you had your head down too. I have exophthalmos. And my eyes are dry all the time. What are you going to teach me?
Your eyes are dry.
They're all the time because they're bugged out of my head.
Your eyes are
Okay, what else? I just can't sleep at night. Tape them shut with paper tape at night. Okay, one last one. Anybody can answer. What triggers my parathyroid hormone to release, or parathyroid gland to release parathyroid hormone? What's the trigger?
Calcium.
If my calcium does what?
Goes low.
If my calcium's too low, it says to the parathyroid, we need to start retaining some calcium in the kidneys. We need to start breaking down the bones to raise the calcium level. See, okay, I'd let you take care of me if I had those disorders. It'd be questionable, but I would. What? Just being honest. Okay, we're going to talk about antidiuretic hormone. I'm just going to tell you right up front. This is going to be the one that you're going to find most confusing. So anytime you're thinking about SIADH, syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone, or diabetes insipidus, I want you to stop and say, antidiuretic means I don't have any diuretic, so I'm not peeing. Okay? And that'll get your mind back in focus. So antidiuretic hormone, what does antidiuretic hormone do in the body?
Tells the kidneys to make them hold, conserve water.
It helps you conserve water. So both of these disorders right here, although we're talking about ADH, have to do with too much or too little vascular fluid, water. Okay? So all of our problems come from either an overloaded vascular system or a dehydrated vascular system. Okay? They all come from the same thing. Let's look at this slide right here. Hold on. Hopefully this thing works today. Okay, this is our negative feedback loop. It's all with too little or too much water. Whenever your body detects that you have too little water, it starts releasing antidiuretic hormone. It says, I don't need you to pee anymore. You need to hang on to the water. Okay? Well, we're talking about the cycle being broken. Okay? Because normally, it's the conserving thing for your water when it's too low. So the hypothalamus says, hey, you don't have enough water in the blood. We need to hang on to some. The pituitary gland releases ADH. It works on the kidneys. It says, hey, retain some fluid here, don't pee. So I lose less water, and my water level goes back up to normal. In the ideal patient, it works perfectly, but our patient's broken. Okay? So, ADH regulates water, It constricts blood vessels. What happens if I don't have enough water and I'm conserving water because I have extra ADH? What's happening in my blood vessels? They're constricting, so it's going to make my blood pressure go up a little bit, which that's what I want if I don't have enough water. It works in the kidneys, and the other name for it is vasopressin. Did y'all talk about vasopressin in cardiac?
Yes.
Okay, so you know it raises their blood pressure and conserves water. It's the same thing. This is just your natural form of it. What are my normal labs? Oh, I guess I put these up there. I meant to block those out. Sodium, you better know sodium. 135 to 145. What happens if my sodium's too high or too low?
Level of consciousness altered.
We actually have
Altered level of
136.
consciousness. I can have seizures, but basically sodium affects your neurosystem. Okay. Urine-specific gravity. Did you guys know that? Did you learn that one before? You need to know that one. Do you remember when Miss Cooper apparently made Kool-Aid in here?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't bring Kool-Aid because I figured that was one-time thing. But if I have a gallon of water and I mix my pack of Kool-Aid in it, I'm going to get some nice cherry red Kool-Aid. If I mix that same packet in just a quart of water, it's going to be really concentrated and really thick. Is that what she showed you with her demonstration? Okay. She said she made a mess, so I didn't do it.
She didn't make a mess.
She said she made a mess. This is what we're talking about here. So when I have a patient who has too much antidiuretic hormone and they're holding on to fluid, what do you think their urine looks like? Which one? It looks like the concentrated one. Okay? It's dark. It has sediment in it. It has your specific gravity is going to be low or high. Let me flip the slides here. It's going to be high. My specific gravity is going to be high because there's lots of particles. My urine's super concentrated. But my sodium is going to be low because, not because my sodium is necessarily low, but because I've got all this extra water in my vascular system, so it's diluted. Okay? Can it still cause the same problems? Yeah, because I have too much water, it's still causing the same sodium problems. So those are the two labs you need to know with your antidiuretic hormone, is your urine-specific gravity and your sodium. Does that make sense? My urine's concentrated, lots of particles, my sodium's dilutionally low. Make sense? Because I have too much water. I'm retaining too much water. So let's think about your body systems. If I'm retaining too much vascular water, what's happening in my cardiac system?
Trying to pump it out. It's overworking.
Okay, I'm trying to pump it out. My heart's overworking. What's my blood pressure going to look like?
Up.
What's my pulse going to look like? My maybe a little bit tachycardia. What else is going on with me?
Your respirations are going to be high.
Okay, am I going to have edema?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Peripheral edema? Or vascular edema?
Basket.
Where am I going to see that?
Like in your bed, yeah.
I might see it in my belly, but where am I going to see it first on my patient?
In your feet.
Right here.
Oh, right there.
The neck.
I'm going to see jugular vein distension. When I sit my patient up between 45 and 90 degrees, I'm going to see the jugular veins just bulging because it has nowhere to go. What's my weight going to be doing? I'm going to have increased weight. Not because I'm gaining weight, but because I'm gaining fluid. You think I'm going to be eating a lot of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
No. Nope, because I've got some ascites. I
I'm
feel
full
full all
already.
the time. So my digestive system is going to be shut down a little bit. What do you think my poor little kidneys are going to be doing?
Crying.
They're really, really trying to produce urine, but because of all this antidiuretic hormone, they're just not working right. So I'm holding on to urine, and I'm just holding on to water. I'm not making a lot of urine. You could go into renal failure if they get hold on. That's not true. That's not true. These people are not going to go into renal failure because they're not dehydrated. They're holding on to water. Their kidneys are just overworking, but they're not going to go into renal failure. It's the opposite one that is. And that's why I told you this one's so confusing. So always go back and say to
Yeah, because you
yourself-
automatically think
You
brown urine means dehydration.
Yes, it doesn't. It just means concentration in this case. What's happening to my mental status?
Crazy.
I might be confused. I might be lethargic because I have that increased sodium level. So I might have those symptoms. Okay, respiratory, what's happening?
Crackles or.
You're gonna have crackles. I might be a little bit short of breath because I'm so full with my SIDs. I have fluid backed up in my lungs, and when I breathe, I can't take in a lot at a time, so I might be a little bit short of breath. So how are my respirations gonna be?
Fast.
A little bit faster than normal. So can you understand that? I'm just waterlogged. Everything's waterlogged, vascularly, not tissue-wise. That's the difference. That's why you don't have peripheral edema, because it's all vascular. Here's a slide right here. Now, I know that this isn't really about SIADH, about your antidiuretic hormone, but your symptoms are caused because of the hyponatremia. So that's why I put that slide on there. So if I have SIADH, too much water, my symptoms are all going to come from hyponatremia. Okay?
Same.
And yeah, so I gave you that slide. It gives you just a summary of what your symptoms are going to be. This can be caused by a head injury, because where did we say ADH comes from? Your hypothalamus? Nope. Right beside it, the pituitary gland. Comes from the pituitary gland. So if I have any kind of injury or a surgery, like the craniotomy we kind of touched on, or if I have an infection like meningitis, it can cause me to have too much ADH. It can also cause the opposite problem. Your causes for these are the same for both disorders. Lung cancer or a lung infection
From too much
releases
fluid.
ADH. Meningitis is actually an infection of the brain, but I want to put that up there. If I am overcorrecting my other problem with the medication that's not on your syllabus, I can create this problem. We're going to talk about that medicine just in a second about overcorrection. But if I'm taking too much vasopressin orally, I can create this problem. Okay? So same concept, over medication. Do you need to know the medication?
Yes.
No,
It's on level 3
it's not on our
syllabus.
syllabus.
I don't know. It seems serious.
Overcorrection is serious.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to give you a specific medicine because it's not on your syllabus. You know,
Freak out.
I'm just going to say a patient is taking medication for diabetes insipidus. Which of the following symptoms would you want to watch for?
Overcorrection.
So I'm not going to say he's taking DDAVP because you don't know about that yet. So overcorrection. That's all I want you to remember. What do you think you need to think about when you're taking care of this person? What do you think their biggest thing is?
Respiration.
Okay, so I heard some safety things. I heard fall risk over here. I heard aspiration over here. Does that all have to do with your level of consciousness?
Yes.
So this patient's truly a safety issue patient because they're confused because of the sodium level. Okay? They're confused because of the hyponatremia. So they're truly a safety issue. I heard someone else say weights. Do I want to do them daily for this person?
Yes.
Yes, because this is a water issue. So I want to see if you weighed 170 yesterday and you weigh 174 today, we need to figure out a way to get rid of some water. Okay? What else do you think you need to think about?
You need to watch the crackles.
Okay, I need to be listening to their lungs because I definitely don't want them drowning just because they have so much fluid. Do you think a fluid restriction might be in order?
Yes.
Yeah. So here's the little dilemma with this patient. They have low sodium, so you can have all the sodium you want. You can have chips, and you can have pickles, and you can have all the sodium
Crazy.
you want.
But no
But
fluid.
you can't have water. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a dilemma there, because the more salty things that you eat, the more water
Well,
you
you
want
can
to drink.
drink.
Let me ask you this.
So with dietary, send them higher sodium foods on their meals?
Yeah, you can ask for, and they can get extra salt and all that kind of stuff. When you go to give them their water, let's just say you're a great little nurse, and at the beginning of your shift, you go check on everybody, do your dead people run to make sure no one's dead. And you take everybody some ice and water. How much water you want to take this guy? Whole pitcher?
No.
Styrofoam cup. Because you don't want him. Now, do you think that he's not going in the sink and getting water?
Or getting his family to bring him something.
He's confused. He is not getting out of bed.
Oh, he probably is getting out of
We're
bed.
making sure he's not getting out of bed.
Let me ask you
We're
a
strapping him
question.
down.
Anybody ever watch House?
Oh yeah.
Did you see the one where the guy had this and he was drinking the water out of the toilet?
Yes.
Think about that.
That was on Grey's Anatomy too.
Yeah, there wasn't one on Grey's Anatomy, but they're gonna get water from somewhere. So I don't want to take you a liter pitcher of water. I want to take you your little 200 cc's. When your tray comes, I don't want to take you 4 apple juices on your tray, because you know when they call down to order, they're gonna say, I need 4 apple juices. And I'm just gonna tell you, the people who work in dietary are people who work in dietary. They're not dietitians. They don't know. So he gets his tray and he's got bouillon, which that's okay. It's salty. It's also liquid. And he's got 4 apple juices. You want him to have all that stuff?
No.
So you kind of got to monitor him and see what's going on and stress the importance of the fluid restriction. So fluid restriction's a big one with him. Safety's a big one with him. Do you think that I might need to watch his eyes and nose?
Yes.
Yes. I need to know how much you're really taking in and how much you're really putting out. So it's funny to me. They're just like, I didn't really get eyes and nose on it because he wouldn't pee in the urine, or a lady wouldn't pee in the hat. Well, that's funny, because when I went and did his assessment, there wasn't one in the room. It's hard for him to pee in one if there ain't one in there. So if you're going to tell somebody a patient's not doing something, at least make sure you put the equipment in the room. Makes it look like you did something, okay? Because you're going to get caught. Or they're not using their incentive spirometer and sitting on the windowsill still in the plastic. Well, they're probably not. I mean, think about those things. Don't make yourself look dumb. Because you don't want to look dumb. Okay, how are we going to treat him?
Would you elevate the head of the bed as well?
Yeah, I would want to elevate the head of the bed, because let's think about that.
Lay like this.
Just from your GI lecture, if you have a patient who has ascites and they've got fluid and you lay them down flat, how are they breathing? Yeah, they're not breathing very well.
They don't have a
He's
hold out.
already a little bit short of breath.
They might be
His
dying.
pulse ox may be a little low because he's short of breath. He already has crackles. So yeah, I want to keep him elevated a little bit so that he has a little bit more movement of the diaphragm when he breathes. What else you think? What else do you think I'm going to do for him? Medicine-wise, what do you think I want to do? Loop diuretics. Oh, there's those dang diuretics again we talked about yesterday. What labs do I want to measure with those?
Potassium.
Potassium for sure. I want to know eyes and nose. I want to get his potassium level. Because now he's confused because of the sodium, and now I jacked up his potassium. What's happening now?
His heart.
His heart rate. I could do something for the rhythm of his heart. The other thing is we might want to pull off some vascular fluid by using
Some
hypertonic IV fluids. They only do this in the ICU because he's already overloaded and already short of breath. And if I do this too fast and I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to send him into CHF. So they usually, for this patient, only do that in the ICU. But diuretics are your big thing. Got to find the cause, treat the cause, and then figure out how I'm going to decrease his fluid volume. So if I was doing a care plan on this guy for clinical, what would his #1 nursing diagnosis be?
Fluid
He
volume
has
excess.
fluid volume excess, and my goal would be to decrease his fluid volume by 2 liters, and measure that in my urine output. Okay, you get that? I'm taking care of him. He's got too much fluid. My goal is to get rid of the fluid. How am I going to do that? Diuretics, for the most part, and fluid restriction. And how am I going to measure? With his weight, with his eyes and nose. Okay. There is a surgery for this. We talk all about this in level 3. Do I have a grayed out on there? Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk about it just now real quick. This is how they do it. They go in through the nose or they go in, like sometimes you'll see that they go in right here through the upper lip, and your patient's gonna have sutures right there on the top of their lip, and they go into the pituitary gland and remove the tumor or whatever's causing the problem. Okay, that's all you need to know about that in level 2, because we're gonna talk about how you take care of him in level 3 and what his complications are. But I want you to know, oh, did you pick up on this? For every hyper, there's a surgery. But for every hypo,
There's medication.
there's medications. Well, there's medications for both, but there's no surgeries for hypo conditions, because if you already don't have enough and I remove the gland that has the problem, then you have none. So there's no surgeries for the hypo conditions. So on a test question, just don't get that confused, because if I say they have hypothyroidectomy and one of the answers is, or hypothyroidism, and one of the answers is a thyroidectomy,
Wrong.
wrong, not gonna do that. Doesn't make sense. Not trying to trick you, I promise. You should look at me like I am. When you read the rationales to my questions, did we not talk about everything in class?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, just make sure. So, the opposite of SIADH is diabetes insipidus, okay? So, what are my labs gonna look like for him?
The ADH is gonna be
Low
down.
ADH,
Okay, low ADH,
high sodium.
increased sodium, and what's his urine gonna look like?
Decrease.
Decrease.
It's gonna be thinned out.
It's gonna be clear.
Clear.
It's gonna be diluted. These patients, diabetes insipidus patients, pee up to 20 liters a day. Yeah, so anywhere from 4 to 20 liters a day, usually on the higher end of the range. So their urine is gonna look like straight water. It doesn't have time to be concentrated at all. That's why that urine-specific gravity is gonna be super low. There's just no particles there because it doesn't have time to concentrate in the kidneys. So think about what's happening here with this person. What's happening cardiac-wise?
And you can't catch up.
Increased heart rate.
Movement too fast.
Okay, I can't catch up. So what did you say, Julie? I'm gonna have a decreased blood pressure related to no fluid volume. If I don't have any blood to pump around, I don't have any blood pressure. What happens to my pulse?
It goes up.
It's gonna go up.
It's gonna go up because my heart says, geez, we need to pump some blood. We need to work faster. There's still no fluid, so my heart rate's gonna go up. What else do you think is gonna happen?
When you have a loss of potassium,
You can have a loss of potassium.
They're gonna be
Plus my
dehydrated.
sodium's increased. If my sodium's increased, what happens to my potassium?
It's gonna be.
They're opposites of each other. So I'm getting rid of potassium. What's happening to my nervous system?
I'm
Too
gonna
much
be
sodium.
Oh, loss of consciousness.
I might be altered because my sodium is high. I might be a little bit irritable because that's the patient that's irritable, has a risk of seizures with the high sodium. So neurologically, they're compromised. What do you think's happening in my poor little kidneys?
They are sore and hurting and tired.
They're wearing out. I mean, I'm peeing so much all the time that I could have dehydration and have acute renal failure. Okay? Musculoskeletal. What happens when you're dehydrated?
Yeah.
Poor skin turgor. What do you feel like when you're dehydrated?
Terrible.
You feel kind of crappy. And so they get a little shaky. They're not stable. Because do you ever see somebody who's dehydrated and just kind of, they look off balance? They actually look like they're drunk. Yeah, a big fall risk.
Is that ataxia?
So, whoops, let me go back. Here's your little slide for diabetes insipidus. It's caused by a head injury, a pituitary gland problem, something like that. You can see he's just squeezing the water out of everywhere. Okay, so this patient's completely dry. Here's our nursing care on this. Everything's all on one slide, y'all. All on one slide. Monitor fluids, replace lost fluids, monitor neurostatus, monitor vital signs, check those mucous membranes and skin turgor, things like that. Here's your signs and symptoms. You all just told me what they were. So there's your slide that kind of sums all that up. All right? And I'm going to give you these after today. I'll publish them. They're already in there. I can just hit the publish button. So you'll have this slide. Same can you see the first one's the same causes?
Mhm.
Anything that affects your pituitary gland could affect it to overproduce antidiuretic hormone or underproduce. So you just don't know which one you're going to get. The other one is, I might be producing enough ADH, but when it gets to my kidneys have no idea what to do with it. So which patients would those be?
Dialysis
My
patient.
dialysis patients. Those dang dialysis patients are the hardest ones to take care of. So just think about that. It could be a disorder of the kidney. Am I going to ask you this question? Nope. This is anatomy. Okay? You got to know anatomy to understand what's going on, but I'm not going to ask you a specific anatomy question. So what do you think I need to think about with him? I'm his nurse, taking care of him.
Fall risk.
Fall risk, because he's up and down to the bathroom 500 times a day, and all that junk is sitting all around because Nurse Susie didn't clean it up before she left.
Should we do like a bedside commode?
Bedside commode would be ideal. If it's a guy, a urinal would be ideal. Plus, do I need to know his eyes and nose?
Yep.
Yes, because normally what they do is, if you measure his eyes and nose in an hour and he put out 800, guess how much IV fluids he's going to get in the next hour? 800. If he put out 500, he's going to get 500. They adjust that IV rate every hour based on the amount of urine output. So do you think it's important? Yes. Think about this. I'm really busy and I can't get in there every hour. So in 2 hours, he put out 2,400 cc's. Do I really want to give him 2,400 cc's in an hour, in 1 hour
No.
of input? I want to do it
In
every
2 hours.
hour. So it's important that you go in there. If you're working with a nurse's aide, can they measure your eyes and nose?
Yes.
Do they need to understand how important it is
Yes.
to let
Yes.
you know what it is? Whose job is that?
Ours.
If they're a nurse's aide, they don't know. So you need to tell them, it is very important that we measure this every hour and that you come and let me know what it is, because I can adjust the IV rate. So eyes and nose. What else do you think you need to know? What'd you say? Why does he need a telemonitor?
Because it's dropping, his blood pressure is dropping.
He's taking potassium. He's on potassium.
Yeah, he may have a low potassium level because of the dehydration. So yes, he might need a telemonitor if he's in the hospital. What else do you think you need?
Vitals, weight.
Vital signs, because I'm looking for a trend. I already know his blood pressure's, low. I already know his heart rate's up. It's 120. But I'm in there doing his eyes and nose anyway, and I get another one, and now it's 130. Next hour it's 148. You think somebody needs to know about that? Yes, because somehow I'm losing the fluid battle. I need to be replacing fluids. The other thing about this patient is, and this is one of those things in a little box in your book, let's just say this patient's going to surgery and he has to be MPO for surgery. Do you think it's super important to have IV fluids going?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Your little box in your book, cannot be MPO for greater than 4 hours, because the risk of dehydration and vascular collapse is real on this patient. So if I'm MPO for 4 hours and I don't have IV fluids going and I'm peeing 1,200 cc's an hour, I just put out 4,800 cc's in 4 hours, that you didn't give me anything to replace it. Could I have a problem?
Mm-hmm.
Kidney failure, cardiovascular collapse, perfusion issues. Yeah. So you see why fluid replacement's the big deal?
Yeah.
Do you think he needs daily weights?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if he's putting out liters and liters of fluid, his weight's going to change in a day. I want to make sure that I have him somewhere stable with his fluid balance. Let me see what else on here. Well, let me tell you this. I think this is kind of stupid, but it says to hold foods that cause diuresis. Caffeine is a big one. So I get that one, but it had other ones listed like watermelon and cucumbers and stuff like that. Is he also getting water from those
Right.
sources?
Yeah.
That's
So
all they
that's
are
kind
is
of
water.
an iffy thing,
Yeah.
That's kind of an iffy thing. But caffeine for sure, because caffeine does promote diuresis, and I really don't want him peeing an extra liter because I gave him a bunch of caffeine. This is our medicine. This is the medication that we use to treat diabetes insipidus. Is it on your syllabus?
No.
No. It's on level 3 syllabus. But I wanted you to know, we're not just gonna give fluid replacements, we're actually gonna give him a medication that'll take care of it'll replace the antidiuretic hormone. So there is a medicine, but it's on level 3s. So if I ask a generic question, it's gonna say, your patient with diabetes insipidus is being medicated to treat his symptoms. What do I need to be monitoring, or what do I need to be measuring? You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna be specific med. I just want you to be familiar with the name of it.
So the biggest risk with this patient would be the heart or fall?
Well, dehydration, perfusion is his biggest issue. And then second, you need to be watching his safety issues. But yes, dehydration and perfusion is his biggest problem. This can be fatal if left untreated because, like I said, your heart rate keeps going up, your blood pressure keeps going down, you don't have perfusion to your vital organs. So first you're gonna lose perfusion to your extremities, then you're gonna lose perfusion to your kidneys, your brain, your heart, and then you have your problems. We're gonna talk more about that in level 3, but that is the complication, is complete cardiovascular collapse from dehydration. So they're really sick. I'm just gonna say this about this medication right here. If a patient has this disorder and they're on this medication, is this one of those medications that the pharmacy can say we give it at 9, 1, 5, and 9? This is a medication that the patient says, I take my DDAVP every day at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. That's the schedule you need to keep him on. It's because he's not making it on his own, and you're giving it to him. You got to be consistent. Any questions about SIADH and diabetes insipidus? When you read the question, what are you going to say to yourself? This is antidiuretic hormone. That means I'm conserving water, to get them straight in your head when you take the test, because they are the two most confusing just because of the wording of the hormone name. Okay? So stop, think about what it is and which one it is. Okay? Cortisol. Let's talk about these two real quick, and then we'll spend the rest of our morning on diabetes. Cortisol. Anybody ever have a patient on prednisone at the nursing home, or I don't know where y'all went last semester?
Yeah.
Nursing home.
Nursing home.
Well, this is what our patient that is on prednisone looks like. If you think about what that patient looks like, this is what this patient is. Cortisol is your stress hormone. Okay? So, when you have a lot of stress, and you're not handling stress very well, you produce more cortisol. What happens when you produce more cortisol? Well, you start gaining weight. Your waist gets above that 34-inch recommendation that they have. I think it's 36 for guys, maybe 37, I don't know. But you start gaining weight, you feel sluggish. They have a whole litany of symptoms we're going to talk about. This is our stress hormone. Nursing students have high cortisol levels.
Yes, we do.
They just do. It's a true statement. This is our negative feedback loop. When you're stressed out and your body says you don't have enough cortisol to handle this stress, you start producing cortisol. Well, when you're not broken, when you're back in control, that cortisol stops. And when you're out of control because the cycle's broken, you keep producing it, and that's what creates all these problems. So it happens in several places. Your hypothalamus starts it. Your pituitary gland stores ACTH, which works on the kidneys. Now, I'm pretty sure that Ms. Cooper talked about aldosterone. What's aldosterone do?
It retains.
It helps you retain water. It constricts blood vessels. Plays a role in blood pressure monitoring or blood pressure measurement. So we're talking specifically about the adrenal glands. In your book, there's a little section in the pages. I told you the pages.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little section in there about something called pheochromocytoma. Just don't read that. Okay?
1253 to 1260.
Yeah, right there. just when you get to the little section about pheochromocytoma, skip over that completely, okay? Because we're going to do that in level 4. This is what cortisol does. Helps you handle stress. It regulates blood glucose. When your patient's on prednisone or solumedrol, did you check their blood sugar?
Yes.
Yeah, because it'll increase their blood sugar. So it has something to do with glucose. It helps play a part in the way you digest food. So when I have way too much cortisol and I'm not digesting food correctly, what am I doing to my weight? Going up. Going up. It helps regulate my electrolytes, and we'll talk about which ones are off balance here. Let's talk about these diagnostic tests first, and this is what I want you to get about these diagnostic tests. They do these to see if you have high cortisol levels. The urine one is a 24-hour urine. Let's talk about what you have to do for a 24-hour urine. What do you got to do?
You gotta pee in the toilet first. And then
Okay, I pee first, and I flush that one.
Mhm.
Is
And
that
then
my start time?
Yes.
Yes.
That's my start time, okay? What do I do next?
Catch it for the next 24 hours.
I
Start in
catch
the
it,
morning,
And start
all the
in
way to the
fridge.
next morning.
okay? It has to be stored in the refrigerator or on ice, not the faculty or staff fridge,
Ugh.
in the lab fridge. What if my patient has a Foley bag?
We empty into the container.
You can empty it into the container on ice, and you can actually put the Foley bag, because I might not get back in there to change it
Yeah.
for 6 hours. I can set that down in a bucket of ice to keep it cold.
Mhm.
What happens if somebody goes in there and accidentally flushes one?
You gotta start all
Gotta
over.
start all over again. I can't just say, oh, well, I missed 300 cc's. I gotta start all over again. What if they put their toilet tissue in the hat where
Start
you're
all
collecting
over
urine?
again.
Start all over again. Well, you know, I came on at 7 o'clock last night, and Christina gave me a report, but she failed to mention. Why does it have to be cold? Because the lab test is affected by the temperature of it when it sits out 24 hours. She didn't tell me, Christina forgot to tell me that he had a 24-hour urine, and my tech didn't know because I didn't pass it on, and we lost a bunch of urine.
Gotta start
So
over.
what could she have done to prevent that from happening?
Make sure she told you.
Make sure she told me, but what else?
Check the chart.
I got 7 patients when I get here. Do I have time to look at all the charts right now?
No.
Nope.
Is there like a sign or something?
Yes, make a sign.
Oh.
Make a sign and put it in the bathroom on the door that the patient has a 24-hour urine. Make sure your sign says started at 7:16 and ending at 7:16. So you're communicating that. Because I'm just going to tell you, when you have 7 patients, you're going to get home and you're going to say, oh, I forgot to tell her that. And you're going to either text her or you're going to hope that she figures it out before it's too late. So sometimes it might be midnight till you remember that you forgot to tell someone something. So the best way to communicate is to make sure that you have a sign up. That way if the tech goes in there to empty the
They
urinal,
see it too.
they know, you know, the family members know, do not flush, you know. So make sure that you're communicating that somehow where the event is going to happen. And that would be in the bathroom most of the time.
I would hope so.
The plasma, the midnight plasma and salivary cortisol test, they do those because they can tell from the cheek swab and the blood. I've never seen them do that, but the book says that they mimic each other and they should be equal if your patient does or does not have the problem. This is the one I really want you to know about though. The low dose dexamethasone suppression test. And what that is the patient has an IV and we draw a cortisol level, then we give a dose of dexamethasone. And in the book, it gives you all these milligrams of this and cc's of that, and I don't want you to know all that. I want you to know the big premise of this test. Then, in a specific set time by the doctor, he wants you to draw another cortisol level to see what the reaction was to the medication. So, the most important thing about this is, if the doctor says, draw your lab, give your med, 30 minutes, I want a cortisol level, and you're busy, and you don't get it for 45 minutes, is your test accurate?
No.
No. And who's going to be pissed off at you?
The doctor.
The doctor, because you didn't get an accurate test, so the patient has to stay. How about the patient? The patient, because I could have gone home today if she'd have done what she was supposed to do. So everybody's just pissed off at you. The finance people, because now you cost them 2 tests, because you're charging them for the one you did wrong, and you got to do it again tomorrow anyway. So when it's a timed test like this, you really need to be monitoring that it's done. Now, at Merit Health, the lab would come up and draw these tests, but they're busy too. So whose responsibility is it to make sure the lab comes on time?
It's ours.
It's mine. If I want to make sure this test is done right, I need to make sure that I'm either going to draw it myself, which is what I usually did because I'm accurate, or I'd be on the phone with the lab and say, it's 5:35 and I need you up here in 5 minutes to draw this lab. And if they said they couldn't, then I'd go draw it. But it's my responsibility as the nurse to give this medicine and make sure that this test is done in a timely manner. I really don't like everybody being mad at me. Okay? That's our diagnostic test for Cushing's disease. I'm going to skip that slide for a second. Let's look at these causes, okay? Causes can happen from 2 things. Internal, and that means that something's either wrong with my pituitary gland and I'm not producing ACTH, or something's wrong with my adrenal gland and I'm not producing cortisol, okay? That's internal. Cushing's can also be caused by an outside source, which is your patient who's on chronic, long-term steroids. Are they going to have the same symptoms? Yeah, because it's all cortisol. The difference is my patient who is from medication, if I can taper this drug and get them off the drug, the symptoms that they're showing will go back to normal. My Cushing's patients, they're really not going to. Okay? That's the biggest difference between the 2. But let's go back here and look at our labs. Our labs are going to be sodium, potassium that I'm concerned about, and glucose. I already know that my cortisol is high, and I put this on here, hypercortisolism, because you're going to see it both ways. I don't know how they put it on NCLEX, but hypercortisolism and Cushing's disease are the same thing. So you might see it both ways. But my labs are sodium, potassium. You know those are opposite. Which one do you think is my problem here?
Sodium.
Potassium for the heart.
Which one's too high or too low? Which one's high?
It's gonna be, I think your sodium is high, your potassium is low.
Okay, my sodium's going to be high. My potassium's going to be low.
And
They're
opposite on the other.
What do you think my glucose is doing?
Going
It's gonna
up.
be high.
It's going to be high. I have too much cortisol. I have too much blood sugar. Now, this is the other added thing in here. Are these people immunocompromised?
Yes.
Yes. Someone who takes steroid drugs, you have to teach them. Remember we talked about this in cognition, about good hand hygiene, avoiding sick people. So if it comes from an internal problem, they also are going to have low white blood cells and they're going to be immune suppressed. So that's like not the electrolyte, but that you need to know about that because that's a risk for them. So that's what your typical patient looks like. They got the little skinny arms and the big trunk,
And little skinny legs.
little skinny legs. You like wonder how they don't teeter-totter over. See the little striae? That's a nice way to say stretch marks. See the stretch marks? They got stretch marks. They're called purple striae for Cushing's disease. That's just a polite way of saying it.
Is it because she just got big so fast?
They put on weight so fast they get stretch marks. Y'all want a break?
Sure.
Come back at the top of the hour. 9. Come back at 10 o'clock.
Do I want to? Yeah. I thought you said after you have it. After we eat. What? Go pee.
I know sometimes we're like real I don't remember seeing any Oh, don't worry about that.
I turned this one.
Yes. You turn everything into me. Sure, just give everything to me. But they don't need your driver's license now. Don't worry about that either. They don't need your social security card. They sent us an email yesterday, said they didn't need that. You don't worry about that. We gotta provide that. Whenever you have as much filled out as you can and a sign. And did you guys get the email from the Brenda lady? I still gotta do that stuff. Well, I got switched from Ocean Springs. No, I'm working on that. I'm waiting on a couple of answers. Sorry. I'm waiting on a couple of answers about instructors. No, you can turn it. Just one. I got them. I sent them the list of names on the day that we had a training day. I don't know why it took them all the way to yesterday.
I see that.
Yeah. I sent the Epic lady and the computer training lady, the 4 people at Singing River on that Wednesday that we were out of school. I sent them everything and then they just got back to you yesterday. Well, you know what? I didn't give them any phone numbers. I only gave them school email addresses. I gave them your name, your M number, the last 4 of your social, and your email address. That's all I gave them. No, just leave that right there. Hey, for process start date, you can put our clinical date. We're going to start 10/2. Yeah, just put 10/2. Where is Sarah? Where does Sarah sit? What's your last name? What's your last name? Where's Lauren McCravey? Yeah, they need your number. I don't need your card though. I woke up I know, but she explained all that. She was like, okay, so yeah. We do it after test 5.
Yeah, that's what.
You have to do it adult health months.
Yeah, I talked to her.
Let me go down there. I'm gonna go ask real fast. Find out what it is.
Yeah, really. What's your grade like? Oh, yeah.
Please don't do it to me.
Totally understand that one.
Oh, yeah. I might not see tonight.
Sarah, I'll go down there. Sarah, I'll go down there on our next break and find out for sure.
So, the last day of service,
Just leave that blank. Because the thing is, we're going there for maternal child too. I don't want to get everybody kicked out and back in again. It's just a hassle. not here and say she didn't send it. I don't know what they didn't want. That's fine.
What time do you leave here? Normally like 5?
Well, we get off at 3, but I usually am here till about 4:30. You have gotten emails from me, you know I work at home all night. So you can tell me. I do too, but once it's under control, you're yeah. But while you're having the episode, I want to decrease it out.
But that's too
Once
much.
my patient is better, like ready to go home or whatever, I want to increase their part.
Miss Geary, are you going to be there, or is anybody going to be there as far as instructors for us to go to our thing at Singing River, or is it just going to be us when we go to the computer program thingy for Singing River? Is any instructors going to
which
be there?
days are you
Just,
going?
Monday.
This Monday coming up? Yes, Miss Keith is going to be there.
Okay.
She has to take it too, so she's going with
Oh,
the
okay.
first.
I had this random battery here that I don't
Did it say in the email that you had to complete the Epic stuff before you go Monday?
It said that it needed to be done. I think she said to do it before.
There's stuff you have to, they'll send you away if it ain't done. I'll make it an announcement.
Yeah, I know. She already told us.
You had already been on.
It just said take them.
It'll probably tell you if you have to.
There's some in the car.
Yeah, my daughter works there. I'm like, I need your help.
Where at Singing River?
Yeah.
What's she at Singing River?
She's outpatient registration, so she works with Epic all day.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I love Epic's really cool.
But like
I
she said,
it.
our screen will be different because we'll be on the nurse's screen
Exactly.
than hers. But she can at least show me the basics.
Yeah.
No, she's trying for the spring.
Yeah, it's easier to get into the spring. That's why I chose that one. That's what I heard.
Well, she finishes her. She's got to do her AMP class right now. She's on the fast track.
Who she got?
So she finishes it this month, and then we'll put in her application before November. So she's got to take her TEAS
That's so
test.
cool, y'all being
And I
at
told
the
her to
same
wait on
time.
her TEAS test. You know, I wanted her to wait until at least after AMP 1
So,
because it's on there.
what do you think is going on with this person cardiac-wise?
Their heart's freaking out.
It's gonna be like
Stressed.
my heart is working fast because there's a lot of fat.
Yeah.
Straight me out. Excrete that extra cortisol.
You're working your heart. It doesn't really affect your vital signs too much until it's like late stages. But yes, and your potassium and your sodium are off a little bit. Your potassium's low. Can that cause cardiac problems? Yes, it can cause cardiac problems. So if I'm in the hospital with an exacerbation, I'm probably going to be in a heart monitor because of that. What do you think is going on with my nervous system?
You're jittery, aren't you?
What do they like when you take prednisone
I'm not gonna change
or
much.
solumedrol?
They're awake.
They're moody, they're jittery, they're irritable,
They're hot.
they can get hot. What about sleep?
They're up.
Insomnia. Remember when we talked about steroids in cognition? When should I give it to my patient?
At
In the morning if it's a one-time dose, because then hopefully by nighttime they can go to sleep. And your natural cortisol levels are highest in the morning. So if I'm trying to mimic what Mother Nature gave you, I'm gonna give it to you in the morning to try to mimic that same cycle.
So if they're on like a breathing treatment at night, would you do it earlier in the evening so
Well,
or you know,
this is,
they're
the breathing treatment's different than taking this systemically.
okay.
Because that's acting on your lung tissue. This is acting on your
Under
entire
everything.
system.
Okay.
So, so you know they have some insomnia. You know they're jittery. They can be really moody and mean. I'm telling you, steroids can make you crazy. Okay, I took them when I had chemo. They can make you nuts. They have weight gain. They have that typical moon face. Have you ever seen them where they have the puffy cheeks and they have the moon face? They also have that buffalo hump back here, that big. It's just a, it's fat, dorsocervical fat, right there at the top of their shoulders.
Fat neck,
What'd you say?
like a fat neck.
Yep. Well, no, it's
Well, fat cervical.
it's like a hump. They call it a buffalo hump. Yep.
I said Quasimodo.
Okay, Quasimodo. Your book calls it a buffalo hump. Call it whatever you want. Okay, so I'm retaining some fluid, so my blood pressure might be starting to climb up a little bit. Can you see where I'm going to have some problems? I'm gaining weight, my blood pressure's gone up a little bit, I'm irritable and mean all the time. What does their skin look like? Besides this, what is their
Very
skin look like?
thin.
Thin skin. You know when you see that patient and they have all that little purple bruising underneath, or you don't know yet because you haven't started it, you go to start that IV and just all of a sudden this massive bruise underneath.
Yeah.
They have real fragile skin and real thin veins. What else do you think is going on with them? What do you think on their face besides the moon face?
Excessive hair.
It's gonna be
They get
red.
flushing. They can get acne. Any kind of things like that. Think about when you're stressed. You know, the day before prom, and you get the big pimple right there. You know, you're all stressed out. And you got the big pimple right there. So they have
Yep.
acne.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Every
Tuesday morning.
Okay.
Would they be like sort of weak though, and like lethargic, like their blood sugar was too high? So like altered mental?
Yeah, but
Not really.
no. You're going to be more altered if your blood sugar's too low than you are if it's too high.
Yeah, it was more like confusion and like decrease.
No, not really. They're not really confused.
It's just mean, mood,
They're just
irritable.
mean and moody. They're mean and moody.
So with their
What do you think
musculoskeletal, are they
what do you
gonna
think
be
they feel
achy,
like psychosocially?
depressed?
They're depressed. A lot of them are depressed, particularly the ones that this is caused by medication. Because we have a little lady that goes to our church, and she's probably in her late 70s, and she has some sort of, I don't know, something, itis something in her eye. And she's been having to take prednisone forever. Well, she's gained probably 20 pounds, and it's all like right here and in her belly. And she's like, I just feel terrible about myself because I look so bad. She can't help it. It's from the medication. But they do have a really high rate of depression because it is depressing, you know? Yes.
So the symptoms aren't necessarily caused by the Cushing's itself, it's caused by the medicine that you're given.
Well, if I have Cushing's disease and it's caused by my pituitary or my adrenals not working, it's coming from inside. If it's Cushing's syndrome, it's coming from outside from a medication. It's the same thing for both. Yes. Decrease what?
Thirst.
They can. They can. But do I want them to be drinking a lot?
No.
No, because they're retaining fluid already. So I don't want them to be drinking a lot, but they could. Hopefully we're watching that blood sugar. And so even if I'm not a diabetic and my blood sugar's going up because of steroids, are they going to treat me?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to give me insulin in the hospital. Or they're going to send me home with something to control that. Oh, they also have something that's excessive hair growth, particularly on the face and stuff. What's that called? Say it again. Hirsutism. Yes. We talked about the buffalo hump, the sugar's high. We talked about the ecchymosis or the bruising under the skin. So you kind of got a good picture of what this person looks like, okay? Here's a little picture with all of your symptoms right here. All of your things you're going to see, okay? What'd you say? He's so cute.
Yes. I love little old men.
He's the mean old man that you're like, you got him, he's 600 pounds.
Yeah.
Not as cute as it seems.
You gotta be fussy right back at him, and then
Right.
he'll love you forever.
Okay, so we already talked about the causes, internal and external. What do you think you want to do for this person?
Monitor
Be
their
nice
heart.
to them.
Okay, monitor their
Yeah.
heart.
Watch their skin.
Monitor their
Watch
blood
their
sugar.
blood sugar.
Watch their skin and monitor their skin and make sure they don't have skin breakdown. Monitor their blood sugar. Because even if I'm not a diabetic, if my blood sugar is too high, I can have problems from that.
Bleeding.
Teach family about their mood swings because they're going to come in and say, she's just in a foul mood all the time. When we get her hormones under control, that will get better. Okay?
Mhm.
What else do I need to teach them?
I'm not sure if you should just, can you give an antidepressant with that?
You can give an antidepressant with that. Because they do have a high risk of depression, and so they can take an antidepressant medication. What else you want to do?
Monitor weight.
Monitor their weight. Anything else?
They're loud.
Okay, I want to monitor their labs. When you're talking about labs, I'm talking about sodium and potassium. Which one's low?
Potassium.
Potassium. What can I tell them to do? Increase their potassium.
Eat more leafy, greeny vegetables.
Oh, I hate green leafy vegetables.
Eat your banana.
But I don't like bananas.
Potatoes.
Potatoes, I can eat those. What about salt substitutes? What are salt substitutes?
Potassium.
They're potassium chloride. So if, I don't want you to eat salt
So
because
their
your sodium's
potassium's
already
low?
high, but you can have
Sodium's high.
salt substitutes. What else do you think I need to teach them?
A diet, right?
What kind of diet?
A diet plan?
Low sodium.
Yeah.
So what kind of
A
things do I
DASH
want to
diet.
teach them?
Baked chicken.
Look at the labels.
Look at your labels. I got to teach them how to read those labels.
Watch the canned foods.
If I'm using canned food, what can I teach them to do?
Rinse it.
Rinse it before you know, if you're eating canned green beans, which are disgusting, rinse them before you eat them.
You gotta add
Rinse
bacon
them.
and butter.
If they're having bruising, would you have to check their PT levels, things like that? Because isn't bruising one of the signs?
It is, but it's not from
It's not from anything
that.
related to blood.
It's just from the
Steroids.
capillary refill. It's the capillaries beds are just stretched so thin because of the steroid drug, and that's what causes the bruising. So on a diet, do I want them to restrict calories or high calorie?
I would say restrict calories because they're gaining weight.
Where's our person at? Does she need to maybe restrict calories? Yeah. Now, I can tell her to go exercise, but her problem's coming from a hormone level. So is she effectively going to be able to go out and just lose a bunch of weight?
No.
No, I got to get the hormone problem under control first. Okay, what else do you think I need to know to do?
Increase activity.
Increase their activity, but don't. I don't want them overdoing it. Now, if it's coming from an outside source, like prednisone, I take prednisone because I have COPD. I can't breathe. I've been on it forever. I want to quit taking it. What do I need to teach that patient?
Taper it down.
Oh,
But they
so I
can't
can
change
just
it.
cut my pills in half?
No.
Who does that?
The doctor.
The doctor. You need to talk to your doctor about tapering your medication and getting off your medication. And that's one of those things that you're going to have to weigh the risk and the benefit. The risk is the Cushing syndrome. The benefit is you can breathe. I mean, so that's something you need to discuss with your doctor. But you don't just stop taking that medicine today. You taper it down from the dose you're on. And you can also tell them that once they do taper off the medication, their symptoms, where they look like this little guy right here, they'll start to get better if it's coming from an external source. And once you get it under control, internal source, it'll get better too. But it will get better. You can reassure them of that.
But if they have, like you said, like COPD, they can't change the medicine, so they're stuck with it.
They're going to be on that medication if you feel bad
Breathe
about
it.
yourself and you look bad, or you can't breathe. I mean, so it's one of those risk
That's
versus
crazy.
benefits things. Here's what we're going to do for this person for level 2. In level 4, we're going to actually do an adrenalectomy. But for level 2, we're just going to give them some potassium supplements. So I can use potassium salt substitutes. I can give K-Dur, things like that. I'm gonna monitor their glucose and use insulin PRN. So that's what I'm gonna do to treat Cushing's disease in here. This is a picture of, well, this is your hypophysectomy. Because if my problem's coming from my pituitary gland, that's where I'm gonna do my surgery to fix it. If it's coming from my adrenal gland, I'm gonna do an adrenalectomy. But this is in level 3, and this is in level 4, okay? I just want you to know, there is things we can do, or things we can do, but we're not gonna do them in level 2, okay? This is the problem with hypercortisolism or Cushing's disease. Metabolic syndrome. Does that look healthy to you?
No.
No, it does not look healthy. You have increased blood pressure, so you have some cardiac problems.
Raises your cholesterol.
You have your triglycerides and your lipids are going the wrong direction. Is that healthy?
No.
No, because then you have plaque buildup and you're gonna have the
Hypertension.
strokes like we talk about in level 3. My glucose is high. We're gonna talk about all kinds of problems from high glucose. My cholesterol level's high. Then they want to put me on a statin drug, which is going to cause all kinds of other problems. And then the last measurement for your metabolic syndrome is the waist circumference. And I do believe the new recommendations is over 34 inches for a female and over 37 inches for a male.
Oh boy, I'm way past that.
So the bigger your waist gets, the bigger these problems get. So who's going to teach your patient about this stuff? Getting this under control.
A dietitian?
Dietitian. Let me ask you a
It
question.
ain't gonna be me because they're
Who
gonna look
knows
at me like
little-
I'm
who
crazy.
knows little to nothing about nutrition?
You fat. Why didn't I listen to you?
You know who knows less? Doctors. So a dietitian is your best bet to teach your patient about what they need. Because doctors literally, they talk about nutrition in medical school for a minute. And how many of you have a doctor who should look in the mirror before they tell you?
That's what I'm saying. That's what they're gonna say about heavier women
So-
who walk in there to tell them about this.
Really, you gotta utilize your resources. There are medications to take care of these things. Are we medication pro in this country? In our country?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, in our country, there's a pill for that.
and
There's a
that,
pill
and
for
that.
There's a pill for that. Oh, so now I'm having a whole cup of pills every single day when I could do some modifications and maybe correct some of these things myself. Okay? So those are your big risks with this patient, which lead to multitude of other problems. Okay? The opposite of hypercortisolism is hypocortisolism, which is Addison's disease. Okay? So my labs are going to be the exact opposite. My sodium's going to be low. So what am I thinking with my sodium low?
Potassium's high.
Confusion.
Oh, sorry. Confusion.
My potassium's going to be high, so what are my problems?
Hard.
My heart. And my glucose is going to be low. So what's my problem there? More confusion. What do you get like when you don't get to eat? You get hangry,
Headaches.
shaky, you don't feel
You get
good.
headache.
So they have the low glucose, they're already confused from the sodium being low, and they got some cardiac problems. Do you think this person could be really sick?
Yep.
Yeah, they can be. Whoops. It also has a test. And what I really want you to know is this is timed also just like the dexamethasone suppression test, but you need to know which test diagnoses which problem.
Yes.
Dexamethasone does hypercortisolism. The ACTH, that's wrong. It should be ACTH, suppression test, diagnosis,
Addison's.
type O.
Just write on your paper if that counts for you.
Well, because this is what happens. Every semester I say, crap, that's wrong. I need to change that. And every semester I forget. I'm going to change it today, then it'll be right. This is also a timed test. It's done exactly the same way as the dexamethasone suppression test, but this one diagnoses the opposite condition. You need to know which one diagnoses which. Don't mix them up, okay? Because you'll miss a test question.
A goes without.
Either on your test or your final. I don't remember which. but you need to know which test goes with which condition. Okay? Time test. Who's gonna be mad at you if you do it wrong?
Everybody.
Everybody.
And then you're gonna be kicking yourself too. So just pay attention to the times, stuff like that. Aldosterone. Aldosterone doesn't play a big role in Cushing's disease, but it does play a big role in Addison's disease. Because you also, not only do you have no cortisol to deal with stress, you have no aldosterone. So what do you think happens?